Jamaica has shown remarkable resilience in the face of that disaster, but that was strengthened by the friendship of our international partners. Ghana's humanitarian assistance, together with the invaluable contribution of the Ghana Army Corps of Engineers, has played a meaningful role in our recovery by supporting the reconstruction of roofs in the hardest hit communities of Akongpong, Black River, Middle Quarters, and Thornton in the parish of St. Elizabeth. We reiterated our agreement on the formalization of an arrangement through which such support can be mobilized at short notice in the case of future disasters. Not just having our friends in Ghana coming if there is a disaster in Jamaica or in the region, but to have that as well where Jamaica can be of assistance should there be a disaster in Ghana. And I believe that this would be the first time that we would have had such an extensive support in terms of a humanitarian outreach from the African continent into the region. And I believe that that is a very strong and positive sign of South-South cooperation. So again, Mr. President, on behalf of the people of Jamaica, and particularly the people of St. Elizabeth, particularly those communities that had their roofs restored, we say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Jamaica places great value on its relationship with Ghana, not only as a trusted friend, but also as a partner with whom we share common aspirations for sustainable development, inclusive growth, and a stronger voice for developing countries on the international stage. Jamaica is honored to welcome you. May this state visit mark another defining chapter in the enduring friendship between our two sovereign nations. President Mahama, welcome to Jamaica. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you for your very comprehensive brief on the discussions we have had. I want to thank you for your kind invitation to visit Jamaica on this auspicious anniversary, and to thank you for the hospitality we have enjoyed since we arrived here. But also to thank you in addition, in advance, for your acceptance of my invitation to visit Ghana on the occasion of our 70th independence anniversary next year. I want to thank you very much. I just add to what you said about the historic relations between us. With the advent of Pan-Africanism during the period of colonialism, several strong pro-Africans came together at the Pan-African Congress and held discussions, initial discussions that began the move towards the liberation from colonial domination. And among those strong Pan-Africanists of the time were Marcus Garvey, our own president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and several others. You have outlined the influence that Marcus Garvey had on President Kwame Nkrumah. It was very profound. And in many of President Nkrumah's writings, he acknowledges that several of the visions that he had in terms of Pan-Africanism and the liberation from colonial domination were inspired by Marcus Garvey. And it's obvious to tell from some of the programs he implemented when he became president, after Ghana became newly independent. A lot of the inspiration and the vision for the industries he set up, the economic programs he implemented were taking from the teachings of Marcus Garvey. And so no wonder we call Ghana the Black Star of Africa, which was a concept that Marcus Garvey promoted. No wonder we had the Black Star shipping line, which was a project that Marcus Garvey himself initiated, and several other of such programs. And so while they worked in solidarity in those days, including Prime Minister Michael Marley, in respect of the non-aligned movements, those leaders came together at the time of the Cold War, to work together to protect our countries from undue influence by the various ideological blocs. And in later years, the prophet Bob Marley came on the stream and influenced and inspired people of African descent. Indeed, his song on Zimbabwe's independence continues to be, very popular. Africans are liberating Zimbabwe, and it led not only to the liberation. After Zimbabwe, South Africa also joined and got independent. But even his lyrics about freeing ourselves from mental slavery and all that continue to inspire us, and I'm looking forward anxiously to visiting his museum later this afternoon. But if this solidarity was built on liberation, we have new opportunities for building that solidarity today. This time is not about liberation from colonial domination. This time it is economic emancipation of our people. And we have no option than to work together, bring our comparative advantages together to be able to create the prosperity that our people deserve. And that's why, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm very happy that you've outlined several of the things that we had the opportunity to discuss. And so, we discussed bringing Jamaican and Ghanaian business people together. I think that is one sure way to begin cross-investments between our countries. There are many opportunities that exist here in Jamaica, and there are many opportunities that exist in Ghana. Both of us have the vision of creating our nations into hubs for our sub-region. And so hub to hub, we can cooperate both in investments and in terms of movement of people and services between Accra and Jamaica. And so that was a discussion we had. Today I'm meeting Jamaican business people when I visit the port. We have a working lunch, and so we'll have the opportunity to discuss some of the investments that are available in Ghana, which they can take advantage of, but gives them an opportunity to reach the rest of Africa because of the African Continental Free Trade Area. You are able to produce or manufacture in one country and export to the other 54 countries. That creates a market of 1.4 billion people with a GDP of almost $3 trillion. And so that opportunity is available. But vice versa, getting Ghanaian investors to look at the opportunities here in Jamaica, in real estate, in construction, and manufacturing, and several other of those areas. We have to activate the bilateral air services agreement between us. It's currently before our parliament, and we'll fast track it so that it becomes operational, so that either national carriers between Jamaica and Ghana or third-party carriers can fly direct flights from Accra to Montego Bay. We also discussed, and importantly, Mr. Prime Minister mentioned that the Defense Cooperation Agreement, and that would allow us to have exchanges between our military. But more importantly, like Mr. Prime Minister said, it will allow us to respond to disaster in each other's country in a more timely manner. We're proud that our soldiers came and gave whatever little support they could. We received them back home with pride. They themselves were so at home that they were not in a hurry to come. And so they asked for 3 extensions, which were all granted. And I'm sure if Prime Minister had not begged them and said, look, they need you at home too, they would probably have sought permanent residence here. But we're proud to hear the work they were able to do. And we believe that in future we can respond like that to each other. It is not even the size of the troops that came. It is the symbolism and the solidarity between brother nations. And so we're proud that we were able to do that. We're also happy that we signed the agreement, and soon we'll have a number of Ghanaian health professionals coming to work in the Jamaican health system. But we've also talked about exchanges where we bring Jamaican health professionals to Ghana to train and come back home to support the health system. We're looking at exchange of teachers, physics and maths teachers, science teachers, and all that. So these are all areas that we can activate. I want to commend Jamaica for its resilience in terms of the recovery after Hurricane Melissa. Indeed, when I saw images of the damage that Melissa had done, I thought that the recovery would have been slow, but I mean, it's obvious that Jamaica has bounced back. And I want to commend Prime Minister and all Jamaicans for that. And indeed, in the briefing, I mean, the damage that was caused was about $12 billion. And it would take some years to claw back all that $12 billion. But the Jamaican people have shown the kind of resilience that they can bounce back from adversity, and I want to commend all of you. Mr. Prime Minister, I want to thank you also for the support that you have given us as leader, champion of the African Union on reparations, for the support that you have given us and for the work we all have done together, Ghana, CARICOM, and all persons from the African diaspora, in terms of moving that historic resolution on the floor of the General Assembly. I believe that was a great day. 123 nations supported us, and that has put a statement, starkly, that the transatlantic slave trade and enslavement, chattel enslavement of Africans was a grievous crime against humanity. We held the Next Steps conference in Accra, and Foreign Minister Kamina was with us, Tourism Minister was with us, and several others were with us. And we had 3 agreements on the high-level panel, the experts panel, and the legal panel. And I believe that it ties into what Jamaica is trying to do with the petition to the Royal House of England. And I want to express Ghana's support for that petition. There are several roads leading to the same destination, and we believe that one of the roads Jamaica is taking is still leading to the same destination that we all want to get to. We must work to increase trade amongst ourselves, and we can only do that if we put in the logistical infrastructure between us. I spoke about the air services. That can be a beginning, but also looking at the fact that Jamaica is an important maritime hub, and Ghana is also an important maritime hub. We came with our CEO of the Ghana Maritime Authority, and he briefed Mr. Prime Minister on the efforts we are all making in order that we can traverse the Atlantic and make the Atlantic become a bridge rather than a barrier between us. And I do believe that with the work that we are all doing, we should soon have direct air services coming to the Caribbean from West Africa, and then also direct transshipment to move goods and services across our 2 regions. And so I want to say this state visit has been very productive and forward-looking, and we're concluding these engagements with a clear roadmap, with a strong political will and renewed momentum to further deepen Ghana-Jamaican relations. And so on behalf of the government and people of Ghana, I wish to extend our appreciation to the government and people of Jamaica for this invitation, and to extend our commendation and congratulations on your anniversary, which you will celebrate on August 6th. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to put on my Minister of Information hat now and marshal a few questions from the media. We did it in order of those who came, and we're going to take all questions. We're going to do 4. We're going to take them all at once, and then you can give your answers, since you do have to get to the wharf to look at it. Okay, so we're going to start with Mahiri Stewart from Nationwide News.
Morning, everyone. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News here. 2 questions. 1, looking beyond our 2 nations, how much of a priority do you think it is for strengthened relationship between the Caribbean and the African continent? And secondly, how much more aggressive do you believe both the Caribbean and Africa needs to be to turn conversations about reparations into tangible benefits for both areas?
All right, thank you. And our next question will be from Fred Duho, who is a Media Relations Officer from the Republic of Ghana. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon and greetings to Your Excellencies. The very first question, what are your expectations in the short to long term to increase trade volumes between both countries? A second one would be, what timelines are we looking at in terms of a direct flight between Ghana and the Caribbean, or specifically Jamaica, whether the next 2 to 3 years, what timelines really are we working with? Your Excellencies, on a lighter note though, a number of Ghanaians who know that we are in Jamaica at the moment without any prejudice are asking, we want to commercialize cannabis in Ghana and that of Jamaica. Has there been any talks in that regard? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. Our next reporter is Jerome Williams from the Jamaica Observer.
Greetings, President. Similar to the question that Marie asked, Jamaicans have heard about the discussions as it relates to reparations for many years. Now, I want to know, based on the discussions that you've had so far and the discussions that you're going to have over the next 2 years, what are some of the tangible outcomes that Jamaicans can expect so they can understand that this is no longer just talk but serious action towards reparations?
All right, and our 4th reporter is Donique Weston from the Jamaica Information Service.
Good afternoon. President Mahama, so you spoke a little bit on this in your presentation, but I know Ghana recently led a UN resolution endorsing the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts on how that resolution was received?
All right, thank you. Those are the questions. Prime Minister, President, over to you.
Mr. President, you want to take these questions first?
Yes. Indeed, there's a coming together of Africa and the Caribbean. I believe that our level of cooperation has increased than it was in the past. Indeed, at the last AU conference, the Caribbean was accepted and duly acknowledged as the 7th region of Africa. And so it allows the Caribbean to CARICOM to sit in AU meetings and to hold discussions affecting Africa and the Caribbean in AU meetings. And so I think that that has been a major step forward. When I was speaking with Mr. Prime Minister, I said that one of the things that I would champion when I become AU chair next year, Ghana is assuming the chair of the African Union next year, is to expand the remit of the African Continental Free Trade Area to include the Caribbean. We've set up the African Continental Free Trade Area that allows us to export goods duty-free and tariff-free into each other's markets. That's a 1.4 billion population market, and that also is a 1.3 trillion GDP economy. And so we can plug the Caribbean in so that we can exchange goods between Africa and the Caribbean duty-free, tariff-free. And so that's one of the proposals that I'll take up in my chairmanship. And then with regards to the issue of reparations, I'll combine that with the last question about how the resolution was received and what the next steps are. We held the next steps conference after the UNGA. Indeed, before the resolution was voted on, there were fears that we would not be able to get the necessary votes to pass it. And so at the last minute, I mean, some people reached out to us, some of our partners from Europe, and that's why we don't step down the resolution and carry out some more consultation before we move it. Because their intelligence shows that we'll not be able to get the majority of countries to endorse the resolution. We did our groundwork, we did our consultation, and we realized that their intelligence was wrong. And so we went ahead, and happily 123 countries endorsed the resolution, which has been one of the most overwhelmingly endorsed resolutions that has appeared on the floor of the General Assembly. It has been taken well. I noticed that there was a lot of apprehension before the moving of the resolution. But after the resolution was moved, the response is beginning to become positive, even from countries that abstained from voting. There are several European countries that abstained from voting. But after the resolution, they have reached out and said, look, we want a discussion on this. We want to be a part of, what is happening. And so, I mean, France, for instance, have acted positively. They had the Code Noir that was related with slavery. They repealed it, and they've taken certain steps. When we held the Next Steps conference, President Macron asked to be able to speak. And he spoke. We allowed him to give the perspectives of France in respect of, what the next steps are after the UN General Assembly resolution. At the Next Steps conference, the Dutch were there, and they came and gave us an album of artifacts that they had taken out of Africa during the slavery and colonial period. And they gave us an album and said that they are willing to return these artifacts. The Germans, the same. They gave us an album with artifacts that they had found in their archives that they were willing to return to Africa. The Catholic Church, for the first time, apologized for the papal bulls that they issued that gave the theological backing to the enslavement of Africans. The Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury was in Ghana recently, visited the Cape Coast Castle, and issued an apology for the slave trade, and also offered a restitution of £100 million to be put into a slavery fund. So we can see some positive responses, even from those who did not support the resolution. And so I believe that we somehow are on the right track. The Next Steps conference set up 3 high-level panels, one to look at the next legal steps to take, and 2 other panels. We're supposed to meet on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, and we'll discuss the reports coming from these high-level panels and see what the next steps to take are. But like I said, there are many routes that lead to the same destination. That's why we support Jamaica in its petition to the monarchy in Britain, in respect of slavery and restitution. With regards to trade, we don't kid ourselves that you snap your finger and suddenly our trade volumes will go up. We need to work at it. And that's why I said one way of working at it is, one, to put in the infrastructure and the logistics. But the second is to expand the trade area. And that's why I said, as chair of the AU, I'm going to push for the inclusion of the Caribbean into the African Continental Free Trade Area. The way the African Continental Free Trade Area works is that we harmonize our standards, and once you get approval from your standards authority that your product is of the standard that you can export, then they put you on a register, and those, if you go on, you can see which commodities qualify. They can be electrical cables, they can be transformers, they can be iron and steel products, they can be processed food products. I mean, there's so many pharmaceutical products. And so once you go in there and you decide to trade, you go on the platform. It will get you in touch with the producer in whichever country. We're now setting up the platform so that we can do settlements in our own currencies. And once that is done, it will make it easier because we don't need to exchange our currencies into somebody else's currency before we buy tea from Kenya or Morocco buys mangoes from Ghana. We'll just use our own currencies to pay for, and the settlement will be done digitally. And so that will all enhance trade volumes. Already, we're beginning to see an uptick. Since the African Continental Free Trade Area came, we're beginning to see an uptick in trading between African countries. I believe that now that we have activated the Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation to give us a framework and give us a measurable tool for looking at the progress we're making. We've agreed we'll meet every 2 years, vice versa, in Kingston and then in Accra. So if we meet, we can tell what progress we've made, and if we need to make any adjustments, we can do so. With regards to cannabis, I don't really know what response to give. It was very illegal before, but I think now there's a change in consciousness about cannabis and the benefits it has in medicines and cosmetics and things. And so there's an opening up for production and export of cannabis. Ghana is at a very infant stage. We passed the legislation, and just recently I saw the Narcotics Commission had said they are ready to start licensing under very strict supervision those who would participate in the growing and export of industrial and medicinal cannabis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your answers are very comprehensive, and I don't feel the need to further extensify. Nevertheless, very quickly, the question was asked about what is the priority being placed on trade with Africa. Just to be clear, Africa is the fastest growing continent, both in terms of demographics and in terms of their economies. It is an area which we have paid as a people great rhetoric. We've always been speaking about South-South cooperation. What I've tried to do is to find meaningful, tangible ways in which we can bring this cooperation to fulfillment. Clearly, Marcus Garvey set the foundation, connecting us intellectually, connecting us as a people. We now must take that and create, as borrowing the term used by my brother, the economic emancipation of our peoples. We have been saying in Jamaica, we are pursuing our economic independence. It's the same thing. And that means that we must not be fearful of exploring the trade and commercial aspect of that economic and social emancipation. So, for example, we have made great progress with Afrexim Bank, being able to access financing for trade and investment from Africa. We have companies in Jamaica that are doing business right now as we speak in Ghana, and we are hoping to attract investment from Ghana in Jamaica. Because the market in Africa is so huge, and in Ghana is significant as well, we have focused primarily on, from a tourism perspective, trade and services, heavily on North American and European markets, of late South American markets. But now we have to turn our attention to the African continent, where there is a growing middle class who wants to travel, who wants to experience the world, and who could feel right at home and comfortable right here in Jamaica. So we see these visits as not just courtesies. These visits are important to set the foundation for the trade in goods and services that will come. As it relates to reparations, again the question was asked, what tangible thing can we expect to see from pursuing reparations? I think we are all agreed, Mr. President, that no amount of funds can restore the damage caused by slavery. So reparations, it's not only about or primarily about money returning, as some of us would like to think. Reparations is about the acknowledgement of the wrong, that what we see today as morally wrong does apply to the past as wrong. And those of us who are here today have a duty to correct it. And I think that is the essence of the thrust for reparations and various repair campaigns. There are several pathways being explored for this, and we're happy that Africa has come on board, led by Ghana, in passing this resolution to declare that slavery and racialized slavery of Africans is the worst crime committed on humanity. And locally, we have been pursuing our own actions for reparations. We have passed in our parliament a resolution which we will now perfect by presenting that resolution, that petition to the King, and we expect that there will be some responses which will further advance the reparation cause. So I'm very pleased with the several efforts which are jointly working together to change the global perspective and to bring better understanding and a movement towards repair. It won't happen overnight. Don't think of it as, you know, getting a cash payment in your pocket as the ultimate of tangible. But look at it from a perspective of respect, dignity, the change in how international institutions operate, the return of artifacts and things that represent our culture to their rightful owner, a change in the flow of investments to support the development of the social infrastructure that is needed to actually repair the damage caused by slavery. This is how we should be looking at reparations. So with those words, I think we would have sufficiently answered your questions, except to say that Jamaica has a fairly advanced process now for the decriminalization and the commercial operations of cannabis. It has its challenges, but we welcome you to look at it.
We'll have to come and learn from you. I just had, we also had a discussion on deepening our cooperation in digital services. Yeah, Ghana has a fast-growing fintech space, and I think some Jamaican companies are already operating in that space. And so we believe that cooperation across our countries in digital services is also important. And finally, the combination of the slave trade and colonialism have enduring consequences in the world today. And it's obvious to see what effects those two had. And so, like Prime Minister said, it's not only about a cash payment, it's also about restructuring the global order so that countries that were victimized by these two crimes, colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade, can have a fair chance, you know, to be able to create prosperity for their people. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. President. This press conference is now concluded. Thank you.